Hey, everyone, we are live. How's it going, everyone? It's Gentry Stein here, and I am in a very special place today because today is National Yo-Yo Day. It's June 6th, and here we are at the National Yo-Yo Museum in my hometown, Chico, California. I'm here with the director of the museum, Bob Maloney.
Hi, Gentry.
So we're just gonna let the chat come in. We're gonna let some people I've been notified, or I notified you guys that we'll be starting the live stream at 10. We're just a couple minutes early here. So we'll just wait till the chat goes up. I'll be answering a couple questions for you guys. And we'll just wait until we get quite a few people here. And then we'll go through a tour of the museum. Sound good, Bob?
Excellent.
All right, so everyone, as we're waiting, let's just give Bob a quick thank you because he has done something very special for us today. He's given us access to all the yo-yos inside the National Yo-Yo Museum, which we're gonna go over. I don't wanna get too far into it yet, but it should be a really good time. So happy National Yo-Yo Day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Nikki V is asking, are any of my yo-yos in the museum? Bob, I think we'll get to that. The answer is yes, but we'll get to that. For those of you in Slovakia and Czech Republic that are tuning in, ale ciao. All right, looks like we got about 70 viewers so far. I think let's just wait a little longer for everyone to tune in. And yes, for those of you asking, there is a National Yo-Yo Day, and it's today. Yes, we'll be showing you around the National Yo-Yo Museum to celebrate National Yo-Yo Day. This is the first live stream I've done on the channel as well, so hope you guys enjoy. If you guys have any tips for me to improve future live streams, I'm totally open to that. I'm here to learn, so I'm just happy that I have this cool audience you guys to show these videos to. So thank you guys for tuning in once again. All right, well, what time is it, Bob? It's 10 o'clock straight up. So we already got 85 people on the live stream, and I told them I would be streaming right at 10. So we're gonna go through all of this stuff. If you guys are just tuning in, I'm here today at the National Yo-Yo Museum on National Yo-Yo Day. No better place to be. So maybe once we get 100 total viewers, so we got about 8 or 15 more, and then we'll get started. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll wait for about 10 more people. I think people will kind of tune in as well as we go, but happy Yo-Yo Day to everyone. Everyone in the chat's very excited. Okay, maybe we won't wait. Maybe we'll just go for it. Oh, people are saying the beard is buttery. I don't have a beard. This isn't a beard. This is like a couple days of scruff. Anyways. All right, I think it's time to get started. What do you think, Bob? So first, let's walk over here where we can check out. As you walk into the National Yo-Yo Museum, this is what you see. So let's real quick, for those of you that are just tuned in now, today is June 6th. It's National Yo-Yo Day, and we are lucky enough to be here with the director of the National Yo-Yo Museum, Bob Maloney. We're gonna go through a tour of the National Yo-Yo Museum, show you guys some really cool old school yo-yos, some really important yo-yos to the history of yo-yos, and hopefully get into some stuff that most people won't be able to do. Maybe we'll get to throw some yo-yos as well. So Bob, tell us a little bit about the museum here. When did the museum start?
Well, the museum started officially in 1993, which has given us a lot of time to collect things from that era.
Wow, 3 years before I was born.
And by the the end of the '90s, in 1999, much to our surprise and delight, the yo-yo was named the #1 toy of the 20th century. It beat out Barbie
Yeah.
dolls and Lincoln Logs and all other historic elements, and
Yeah,
it's because the yo-yo comes back
it
again and
does.
again. It returns to popularity.
It's timeless. It's timeless. So let's go through the museum a little bit. Why don't we do that, Bob? There's so many yo-yos in the museum here. So where should we start? So just to let you guys know, we're in Chico, California. That's where the National Yoyo Museum is, and that also happens to be my hometown. So this is actually the place that I learned how to yo-yo. I actually came here when I was 8 years old and took yo-yo lessons, and I was a super shy kid at that time, so I remember coming here and like trying to just muster up the courage to talk to people and get them to like maybe teach me a trick. I think I actually came to the lessons at the museum a couple times before I even like actually tried yo-yoing at all. But anyways, this is where I learned everything basically. So Bob, it looks like over here you're looking at this case right here. So can you tell us a little bit about this case here?
Well, we could start anywhere, but a good place is in the timeline of the earliest yo-yos. Of course, we don't have the ones that are thousands and hundreds of years old, but these are ones that are close to 100 years old.
So we have a little reflection going on, but lucky enough, Bob has given us behind the scenes access where we're gonna actually get to open up the cases and maybe even play with some yo-yos, like I said. So anyways, we got the reflection, no problem now. So tell us a little bit about what's in here. I'm seeing 1929 as well as 1928, 1930. So these are some old yo-yos right here.
Yes, and this Pedro Flores was actually the fellow that made the yo-yo that Donald Duncan saw and created his yo-yo company, popularizing it to a great degree. And these were made in Canada in 1931. Hiker Yo-Yo was a brand that came up. They made toys. They started making yo-yos. So all along the West Coast and in Chicago, yo-yos were popular. And then it took off. There's companies that started in the early 30s on the East Coast in New York and New England, and it became a widespread device that every kid had one in their pocket.
It's a
And
good thing to have in your pocket. So what's a yo-yo here that you would say is one of the most special yo-yos in this case? Because I think there's a lot of special yo-yos in this case, but if we could talk about one right here that you would say is very significant, let's go over that real quick. I think they might be interested in that.
there's a number of yo-yos here that are significant. If one was paying attention in the internet world right now, this here has gotten a lot of attention. It was made in 1961.
The Seattle Light
The
Space
Seattle
Needle.
Light. There was the satellite yo-yo that was made with the era of the Sputnik and space exploration, but the Seattle Space Needle looks kind of like a flying saucer and kind of looks like a yo-yo. So the
Ooh.
Seattle Light was made in
Seattle Light.
one batch, one time. They were made for the Seattle World's Fair, and
Wow. Shout out to Elon Musk and the crew that has just been launched into orbit. What amazing times. Okay, so some people are asking in the chat if we can throw this yo-yo. Is it possible that maybe I could throw this yo-yo, Bob?
well, you'd be the first one in a great number of years.
Oh man. And when was this yo-yo made?
In the 1960s,
Ooh.
early 60s.
Ooh, so we got to be careful. Are we going to be able to get that string out of there? You can
Sure,
see
sure.
a lot of these yo-yos didn't always used to come apart. So this yo-yo, the string's a little stuck in there. So
Let me,
we'll have to
close this
find a
down.
way to get this string out of here. It's pretty fragile. This yo-yo is like, what? You just say it's like 70 years old or 80 years old?
Almost as old as I am.
Wow. Ooh. Okay, here
This
we
is
go.
the original string, so
Bob is graciously
Your hands are
and
clean, I hope.
generously, oh yes, and generously handing me the string to where I can throw the Seattle light. Bob, would you mind coming this way and letting them see? Okay, here we go. Oh, it looks like our string tension's a little. This yo-yo hasn't been played for in a while, you said. Played with in a while, you said, right, Bob?
Or ever.
Oh, maybe this is the first time since
You're going back in
the
time.
original owner. So now, Bob, how do you get a lot of these yo-yos in the museum? Where do they come from?
The methods are as various as you could imagine.
Oh, I'm sure.
But one of the nice things that has happened is that there are good people who like to preserve the history, and so they're donating to the museum.
Wow.
And so it's pretty fun.
So I think I'm gonna be careful here, but this yo-yo is called the Space Needle Seattleite. So maybe it's only right if we do a little shoot the moon action, just carefully.
Oh my!
Maybe some. Ooh, that's not gonna happen. That's how you break. That's how you break the 80-year-old
You
yo-yo.
were being very careful. I know that.
But I tried. Okay, let's put this one back in the case and move on. So I think did it go just right here?
Looks good.
Great. All right.
Well, that
Wow, I
probably
feel
will
so
be
honored.
Played with for another
I
70
feel
years.
so honored. Okay, so let's move on to the next case here. So in this one, it looks like we have some boxes of maybe these were yo-yos that were promoted. Maybe it looks like during the 40s and 50s. Something pretty significant happened in the 50s in yo-yoing, right?
A couple of things. One was plastic, and the other was single packaging.
And if I remember correctly, wasn't like one of the big yo-yo booms in the 50s, like where there was a huge
Yes.
level of interest? And how many people would you say, what was it like from your knowledge, like what was it like? What was yo-yoing like then? How did people feel about yo-yoing then? And like was everyone yo-yoing? Were there millions of people, hundreds of thousands, like during that boom?
Lots of people yo-yoing. You'd
Yeah.
go to a store, and I'm old enough to remember that you could find a box of yo-yos on the case, and then we saw it turn into the single package on a peg.
Ah,
And the difference is when they were in the box, you could try them out.
okay.
And so you'd get the one you wanted, and then you'd go up and buy it. The package ones, you buy the package as it is today. So
Yeah.
it's, the kids were on the school grounds playing yo-yos. There were demonstrators that were hired by the yo-yo manufacturers that would travel around the town and travel around to schools.
And would you say what's the main thing that caused that yo-yo boom during that time, would you say?
Well, the obvious answer is the availability.
Yeah.
But what really is that you can do so many things with the yo-yo that make you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
That is that self-confidence that kids got from
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
with the yo-yo that kept them going.
Yeah, you were saying like the yo-yo demonstrator. So there was a lot of yo-yo demonstrators that were promoting at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
And there
It's our goal. We want to get more yo-yos in people's hands. That's the whole goal of everything that I do, guys.
Well, it is
So,
kind of, everybody has the same story when you ask, well, how did you start? And they always
Yeah.
say, well, I saw somebody do it.
Yeah.
And today we have the internet so that you can see people that do it
Yeah.
a little easier than the old
Yeah.
days.
Well, let's show a couple more yo-yos here. So let's give them a quick pan, maybe, of a lot of these yo-yos that we have here. So we're moving on to this back wall.
This is wood.
And do you know how many yo-yos? I know people in the chat were asking how many yo-yos are here in the museum. A general idea.
My standard answer is, they're welcome to come and count them.
Oh man, there's a lot, and I know too. Some of these yo-yos get swapped out, so sometimes there's new yo-yos coming
That's
into the
correct.
museum.
That's correct.
So this is not all the yo-yos that are here at the museum. It's just the ones that are on display right now. So let's look at some of these yo-yos here. I'm gonna see if anything stands out to me here. Let's see.
Well, the rhinestones were very popular
Ooh.
on the yo-yos, and that was every old person I've talked to states they had one of those when they were a kid, whether they did or not.
Okay. get some bling action going
The
there.
beginners were red and black,
Oh, wow.
two-tone.
They're so tiny.
They were. This was the 33, and the larger one was called the 44.
Wow. And so tell us again, what's significant about these yo-yos right here?
Well, the fact that they're two-tone means
Yeah.
that each half was made independently and put together with a wood axle in between. Now, these that have the stripe are indicating of the yo-yo is made in one piece of wood. The axle is the center part of
Yeah,
that piece
gotcha.
of wood, and both sides were shaved and then painted, and they put the stripe on it so that you knew that that was a one-piece yo-yo.
Yeah, so do these yo-yos come apart then because they're
Well,
two
they
pieces,
don't
or how?
come apart because they were tightly squeezed together with the string in there. So the string was not spinning around the axle. The string was locked into the yo-yo, so it would go
Okay.
down and up, down and up.
Okay, so those, real quick, thank you to Robert Townsend for donating $10. Appreciate it. So these yo-yos right here, what Bob is saying is they actually, when were these yo-yos made right here?
Well, they started in the 30s
Okay, in
and
the
40s.
30s. So
50s.
at that time frame, 30s, 40s, 50s, the yo-yos weren't spinning. So this yo-yo,
Well,
can I
they're-
throw one of these, or?
The spinning yo-yos were also. There were
Okay.
two types
So
of yo-yos.
these were the one piece yo-yos. So the axle on the inside. Can we
So
demonstrate one of them maybe?
here is an early ad.
Okay.
And so you can see this is the 33, this is the 44,
Ah.
and then this one here is the 77, and you can see the stripe.
Wow.
So these were yo-yos that were, these could, as Pedro Flores called it, they could coast. Then it was called sleeping, and nowadays
Gotcha.
it's called spinning.
Okay. Sweet. Man, it's funny because every time I've been coming here to the National Yoyo Museum, it's kind of like my second home, but I've been coming here for really since 2005 was the first time I came here. So 15 years ago. And it's funny because every time I come here, I learn something new and I see new stuff in here. So we're gonna do our best to go over as much of this stuff as we can, but really it's just such a cool experience to be here, and this place has so much history overall, but it also is very meaningful to me because this is where everything started for me. So while Bob is the director of the Yo-Yo Museum, which is a really cool thing for so many people, Bob's also somebody that was and continues to be a mentor for me, with becoming who I am today. So it's pretty cool. Thanks again, Bob, for letting us take a tour of the museum. But don't worry, we're not done yet. We're gonna keep the museum tour going. So let's get this yo-yo back in here, nice and safe. And now let's make our way to over here. So really, as we move over to this side of the museum, like starting from here, moving this way, these yo-yos are kind of getting newer and newer as we go. Is that correct?
Well, this is when plastic came in.
Okay.
And this is definitely a 50s style yo-yo. They are fixed axle. They're squeezed together, non-take apart.
Yeah.
And the plastic allowed much more colors. So it became a lot more exciting and colorful. And it also made
Eye-catching.
them less expensive because
Yeah.
the wood was kind of tricky to work with to get
Yeah.
it to work, be balanced.
And these are also the plastic yo-yos. Were they? I know now the plastic yo-yos are injection molded. Were these injection? Was that?
Yes.
I don't know enough about. Was that happening during this time too, or?
Yes, similar injection molding. They tell me that the difference is they were putting the plastic in the mold with amount of pressure that today is much greater.
Gotcha. So really,
they're better molded today.
yeah, but that you were saying that one of the things that really assisted in the yo-yo boom, along with demonstrators, is more availability of yo-yos. So as yo-yos transitioned from wooden to plastic, then you can produce a lot more of them, right? So then
Correct.
more people could have access to yo-yos. So then when those demonstrators would go out, then they would have yo-yos for people to actually use, and everyone could have access, right? So these right here are all those plastic.
This was so popular that these are the ones that people considered the yo-yo. I
Yeah.
mean, this was a yo-yo shaped, and then when this butterfly shape came out,
Yeah,
it was a second shape, which nowadays we recognize that that shape is the primary shape.
Yeah, and we a lot of time I refer to it too as a wing shape. So
Correct.
so like if you guys have checked out any of the yo-yos on my website, or if you guys have a Spin Star or a One or Replay Pro, those are all wing shaped yo-yos, right? So that wing shape started in this time period. So when was the first wing shaped yo-yo put
Well,
out?
there actually is a number of wood wing shaped
Okay,
yo-yos.
so maybe I'm not.
So, but it was extremely rare, and it wasn't until
Yeah.
they were in plastic that
Wow.
that they've gained a tremendous amount of popularity because the colors and so.
Yeah.
And nowadays, the wing shapes are on every yo-yo because the extra spin time you get with the internal bearing
Yeah.
is you can do more with the yo-yo.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. I've actually made a video on my channel too, if you guys haven't seen it, the 5 most revolutionary yo-yos in the history of yo-yoing. I did that with Hans, one of the top yo-yo performers of all time, and also the owner of Yo-Yo Factory. He took me through his collection and showed me what he thought were the 5 most revolutionary yo-yos. But it's cool because there are so many things that happened over this time frame of the last, well, let's see, when were we, of the last 100 years, really, that these things that happened that really revolutionized yo-yoing and allowed yo-yoing to become what it is now, right? So it's cool to look at like that history of when the first wing-shaped yo-yos were happening.
Well, what we're seeing here is not much changing except for the materials, but that material was a significant change.
Yeah.
The yo-yo stayed the same.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
when did the yo-yos, aside from becoming plastic and having more availability, when did the yo-yos transition into people actually being able to do more tricks? And when was that next move into the thing that really revolutionized yo-yo and allowed people to start doing more tricks?
Well, I've learned that there are kids that are old men now that played with the wood yo-yos that could do a lot with it, but there were fewer people that could do more with it.
Yeah.
But when the yo-yo got the threaded axle where you could
Let's
unscrew
show
it,
that. So
we saw
threaded
that-
axle we're talking
that
about.
players would modify these yo-yos so that
Mm-hmm.
they would do the tricks that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that included the ending up of a ball bearing in it.
So then this
opening
one-
the yo-yo was the
As you guys
beginning of
know.
the modern era.
Yeah. Makes sense too, because when you have a yo-yo that you can't unscrew, then it can become really frustrating when you're doing tricks because you have to pick the knots out. So really, what was happening was the yo-yos were being developed in a way to where it made that first learning experience much easier. So then it was, people wanted to keep yo-yoing after picking it up. They could actually learn tricks easier, right? So let's check out these yo-yos right here. What we're looking at here is the Tom Kuhn, some of the there's a no jive yo-yo, which there's something special that I want to show you guys in the museum here. You may have seen it in the background there, but tell us a little bit about these yo-yos, Bob, and maybe specifically the no jive yo-yo.
Well, this kind of takes you along when Tom was trying to repair a yo-yo that he broke, he started making his own. But then he got to the idea of figuring out how to get that threaded axle in the yo-yo. So these are actual nuts that the threads go into from the other side. But then he eventually got it to a very clean, workable level. And his first idea was to put a wood axle, because that's what everybody knew, that the wood axle yo-yos were what the old guys were playing with, that they could do so much. And so it was with some help from other people that the idea of the ball bearing got developed, and that was when it changed because all of
Mm.
a sudden it became the younger kids like the ball bearing. The older guys were saying, "No, you have to do it
Yeah.
our old way,"
This
and
is
so
this is what happens, right? As things start to, and this is of course not just with yo-yos, but with anything that develops over time. We get so passionate about what we're doing, and then these young kids come in and change it, right? And it happens with cars too, right? Like with, even there's people now, like for me, as some of you guys may know, I'm a big car enthusiast and I still love manual transmissions, right? It's the similar kind of thing, I think, where things develop and change, and people want to hang on to the thing that they love. But I think it's while there's something special about that because it shows where the root of the passion is, I think it's also cool when we can open our minds up to the possibility of change, the possibility of new ideas, because then things can change for the better, right? So, anyways, just a little
well, to
little
tandem on that,
yo-yo
another thing
philosophy.
changed was before yo-yoing was about coordination. I mean,
Mm,
whether you could do the tricks, and the tricks were listed, and you knew what the tricks were. Everybody's doing the same tricks. But when the yo-yo came open and the ball bearing came out, and people started inventing new tricks, it
mm.
became about creativity.
Yeah. And
So
that's the thing is, like, especially as you guys continue to yo-yo more and you start to learn a pretty solid foundation of some tricks, then it becomes like this creative art form if you want it to. Hey, real quick, I'm noticing right here the Yo-Yo Factory Fast 201. And you may be wondering why I'm pointing that out. Bob, do you know possibly why I would be pointing out the Yo-Yo Factory Fast 201?
well, it was a significant yo-yo that allowed you to widen the gap.
Well, it was also my first yo-yo. Did you know that? I think actually I was looking earlier and there was this one right here. We haven't showed this case yet. But this Fast 201 right here, this wasn't my first one specific, but this one you can see was used by Paul Hahn to win the 2004 Yo-Yo Factory Fast Challenge. And that was a little contest that happened back in 2004. But Paul's actually a good friend of mine. He's still with Yo-Yo Factory. He works for Tiffany and Co. in New York right now. But the faster one of this exact purple one was my first one. But maybe we can pick one of these up, and I can get some nostalgia here and pick up one of the Fast 201s. Let's see, do we have a string on either of these? We don't have a string, but what we can do is go get a string. Let's go, I'll be right back. Get a string here, then we'll hand the camera over to Bob. Let's see. Man, it's been years since I threw a Fast 201, but let's see. Now at this point, this yo-yo came out in around, I think, 2004, roughly. Um, and this yo-yo is made by Yo-Yo Factory. So it's kind of funny, the company that I now work with and design all my yo-yos with, I used a Yo-Yo Factory yo-yo for the first time. It was a Christmas gift from my mom. Can we lower the camera just a little? Yeah, perfect. Woo! Let's see if we can do some tricks here. Split the atom. That'll be a trick that I'll teach you guys very soon in the Learn to Yo-Yo episode, one of the next ones that are coming up. See maybe some boomerang action. Woo! It brings me back to the early days. This is a cool one. Cool. All right, let's put this away and continue the tour. It's pretty fun. All right. Let's see, where should we head to next? So we were just looking at these no jibe yo-yos, which Bob was talking about how, we first talked about how the yo-yos couldn't come apart. Then we talked about that transition to a lot of the wing-shaped yo-yos. So if we look at the no jibe right here, let's look at the 3-in-1 yo-yo. Is it gonna come out? Yeah. So if we look at the no jibe 3-in-1, you'll notice that it has these little hex nuts. And it's actually the regular original yo-yo shape. But you can actually take this yo-yo apart, right, Bob, and transition it into a wing shape. So you flip the yo-yo around. So check this out real quick right here. That shows you how you flip it around. So it can be either that original shape, the wing shape, or half and half. So this really was a cool yo-yo. And guess what? We actually have not just this no jive 3-in-1 yo-yo, but let's take a look at this one. Bob, tell us about this yo-yo.
Well, this gave Guinness Records a boost because Tom Kuhn made this in San Francisco in the late 70s to popularize his yo-yo, and then committed to make it work, goes up and down and up and down and up and down. And we were very fortunate to have it on loan from Tom.
256 pounds. I didn't know that. I didn't know it. I mean, I guess it makes sense. And
It is scaled up of an actual yo-yo, so the weight and the size are indicative of what
Yeah.
a yo-yo would be. And the length of the string
Wow.
is 80 feet long, so it's as long as a standard
The
yo-yo.
string or the rope. When and Bob, I know a lot of people are wondering, does this yo-yo work?
Yes,
It works.
it goes up and down and up and down.
Wow. Well, one thing I like to tell people when they come into the museum is if you can use the yo-yo, if you can do rock the baby with this yo-yo, I'll give it to you. Not really. But you can't use this yo-yo yourself. You got to have a crane. And if we look real quick right here, you can actually see these were a couple times where the yo-yo was actually being used. So pretty cool there. You can see it took a crane there. Is this in Chico right here?
Yeah.
Cool, right at the plaza, right at the Chico Plaza. And just for those of you that are still tuning in or maybe have just tuned in now, we the National Yoyo Museum here is in Chico, California. So pretty cool. So let's move on to some more of these more modern yo-yos because after we
from the wood, the Tom Kuhn yo-yo went into metal, and then that created a whole nother level of
Yes.
precision.
Yeah.
So the all metal yo-yos became popular, and at first, like anything else, it was saying, it's just a flash in the pan fad.
Yeah.
They won't happen. But then, because of their precision, people found that they actually were much nicer to play with. There was the half plastic, half metal, which was a nice way to develop a better playing yo-yo with an eye on the expense.
Yeah.
But what's
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Bob, but this yo-yo really quick, the Night Moves 1. I remember that I actually got one of these yo-yos as a gift from my mother for my birthday when I was kind of just getting into yo-yos, and I loved it because it had this little car graphic. And this is a yo-yo that was made by Yo-Yo Jam, which is, that company's not around anymore, but Yo-Yo Jam did a lot to really push yo-yos forward, and for a while they were kind of, they made a lot of really cool yo-yos. So yeah, I want to can I throw the Night Moves real quick? Oh man, this is exciting. There's so many, and keep in mind guys, like these yo-yos are like, no one usually has access to these yo-yos. So Bob was kind enough to open up the cases and allow me to throw some of these yo-yos as we do the tour. So I feel pretty honored right now. Oh, it brings me back. If you can see, this one also has like some glitter on the inside. It's a sweet looking yo-yo. Ooh! You can see it's still responsive, actually. Wow.
Well, this was the days before the gap got wider.
Wow. Fun stuff. What else is in here that I could throw? Let's see.
Well, here's the
Let's see.
famous cold fusion.
Oh, you know what? I don't think I've ever thrown one of these yo-yos, like one of the cold fusion yo-yos, but I've heard a lot about it. Check this out. Ooh, the Pro Yo Cold Fusion. Let's give it a throw. Let's test it out. Gotta be careful while throwing these yo-yos. These are, you know, ooh, this one's got a cool sound to it. Wow. Okay, we can only do one trick with the cold fusion, right? What's it? Cold fusion. Oh. Hey, there we go.
Very good.
Okay, let's put this back and continue the tour. Thank you again, Bob, for being kind enough to, you know, not only give us the tour, but give me access to playing with some of these cool yo-yos.
Yeah,
Man.
this was an era when yo-yos were looking like car wheels.
Wow.
Actually made by a company that made car wheels.
And we move over to this case. So this is kind of the time frame. A lot of these yo-yos are from around 2000, ranging from 2005 up through 2011. And you can see that these yo-yos up here, this is the Yo-Yo Factory 888, which was a huge, like, the Yo-Yo Factory 888 was like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was just a huge yo-yo during the time. I remember as I was kind of getting back into yo-yos, I took like a 2-year break, and then I came back into it right when the Yo-Yo Factory 888 was coming out, and it was like the yo-yo that everyone had. But this one, oh, this is gonna be fun. I just spotted this yo-yo right here. So if you guys just saw in, which video was it that I did where I talked about this yo-yo? It was I don't know, one of my more recent videos where I was talking about how, oh, it was just the video I did on explaining unresponsive versus responsive yo-yos and kind of bringing you guys through and doing all that. It looks like this one's got a string that's cut off. So this yo-yo, if you guys haven't seen that video, one of the things that really revolutionized yo-yoing was, can we raise the camera just a bit, Bob? So one of the things that really revolutionized yo-yoing was was people using unresponsive yo-yo. So as Bob mentioned earlier, and I said in that last video, people started to, when the yo-yos could come back up with a tug, there was a lot of friction, and that would limit how many tricks people could do. But then people started modifying their yo-yos, and maybe it helped a little bit, but it also led to some problems. So what then Yo-Yo Factory did was create this grind machine yo-yo, which was one of the first out-of-the-box unresponsive yo-yos. And this is one of the yo-yos that Hans, the owner of Yo-Yo Factory, also mentioned in my 5 most revolutionary yo-yos video, because this yo-yo came out of the box as unresponsive, which was pretty new to the time. So I'm gonna try throwing this one, and I've never thrown one of these either. This is cool, because as much as the yo-yos that we've gone over so far are awesome, and there's so much history to them, I feel happy and like honored that I got to throw those. But when we move on to this time, it kind of like gets to me a little more, because this is the time where I was getting involved into yo-yos, and so I can relate to it a little bit more. So it's cool to, you know, I remember being a little kid seeing photos of this yo-yo. It's kind of like when people say like, oh, I used to have those original Jordans when I was a little kid, and now I finally get the chance to get the retro version, right? But anyway, so here it is. As you can see, it's unresponsive. Let's see. Woo! This is fun. Woo! Wow. Good stuff. Good stuff. What are people saying in the chat here? People are asking if this is live. Yes, this video is live, guys. We're live here on National Yo-Yo Day at the National Yoyo Museum. So let's put this one back. And let's take a quick look over here. I think we're gonna kind of wrap up the live stream soon. But let's take a quick look over here because one thing that I've heard about a lot is the Coca-Cola Yo-Yo. So Bob, can you tell us a little bit about why there's so many Coca-Cola Yo-Yos, what significance that had, and maybe a little bit of a story behind some of these?
Well, Coca-Cola in the United States has 100 different distributors, but in the rest of the world, there's only one distributor, and that's Coca-Cola Corporation. And to popularize Coca-Cola brand in countries all around the world, they would send a mold of the yo-yos with a person that the country itself would use their labor force and materials and make these yo-yos.
So okay,
all
let
of
me
these
just
have-
understand this correctly. So Coca-Cola used yo-yos as marketing to help grow their brand. Is that correct?
Correct. You
I actually didn't know that.
you would
That's pretty cool.
to enter a Coca-Cola yo-yo contest, you'd get 2 bottle caps, and 2 bottle caps would allow you to join the contest.
Wow.
And they would give out lots and lots of Coca-Cola yo-yos. But the importance of them is that they're all different because the different countries had different
Wow.
abilities, and they all carry their names. Like these
Wow.
are the Philippines. Every country in the half of the world has their name on a yo-yo.
Wow. That's funny. I actually didn't know that story, but that's pretty incredible. So is Bob, do you have to get the phone ringing back there or?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
They're calling the wrong number.
Oh, okay. So let's go into this case right here because this one is pretty special. Now, again, we have access to it. So let's open this case up a little bit. Bob, if you could help me out here to open this one up. So this case right here is actually, you'll notice maybe some of my yo-yos right there, but in this case, the yo-yos in here are actually were used to win U.S. national and world contests from over the years. So if we look back at some of the older ones here, we can look back and see that this yo-yo right here was used in 2001 to win the 1A World Yo-Yo Championship, as well as like this one from 2003. And so this yo-yo right here really hits me too, because I have such a passion for competing. And these yo-yos are yo-yos that people use to win. So you can see these are all the yo-yos that I used. Now, if you guys want, let me know in the comments of the video if you guys would like to see me film an entire separate video going back through all of the yo-yos that I used and maybe giving them a second throw. Because I haven't thrown any of these yo-yos that I used to win since I used them on stage. So that would be pretty cool. That would be a fun video. So let me know if you guys would like to see that. But wow, yeah, check this one out. So this yo-yo right here was used by Augie Fash to win the 2004 National Yo-Yo Contest. And Augie was my mentor in yo-yoing. He's the one that when I first got into yo-yoing, I totally looked up to. And you know, now we're the best of friends. I was in his wedding, but I was like a little 8-year-old kid, and I totally looked up to Augie. I think he was maybe in high school at the time when I first got into yo-yoing. And so he was like a cool, you know, big high schooler that was like really awesome at yo-yos, and I totally thought he was the coolest. He's like my hero. You know, he still is. but anyway, so this is where the yo-yo Augie used to win the U.S. Nationals in 2004, and I think if it weren't for Augie winning that, who knows if any of this would have happened, because you know, Augie gaining that title and continuing to yo-yo really launched the foundation of me really getting into it. So anyways, that pretty much wraps up the tour of the museum for now. I mean, there's a lot more stuff that we could look at, but it's been what, 45 minutes, and I think that's probably a good amount of time.
Really quick.
Yeah. So Bob, thank you so much for giving us the tour. I feel so lucky to have been able to throw some of these yo-yos. Now we got to get all the cases back onto here to keep these yo-yos protected. Again, thank you for opening it up and giving us a behind the scenes look. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon in another YouTube video. I'll be uploading this, so those of you that didn't get to watch it live can check it out. Let me know in the comments if you guys enjoyed the museum tour, what yo-yos really stuck out to you, and I'll see you guys soon. Now let me figure out how to end this live video. You want to stop streaming? Yes. All right. Later, guys.